Good evening, everyone. First and foremost, I want to thank all of you for helping the channel reach 200 subscribers. I hope we can reach 1,000 by the end of the year, possibly early into the new year, and we can make this podcast even higher quality than it already is. I'm truly thankful for all of you, and I hope you'll all continue to join me for more terrifying tales. And if you like gaming, feel free to check out my other videos. Without further ado, let's get this thing started, shall we? I want to start off tonight with telling you all about a nightmare I had recently. So this happened a couple of days ago. So, as some of you may know, for my everyday job I work on satellites and launch them into space. I've gone on a couple of launch-based campaigns and assisted with preparing the satellites for final launch. With that being said, I am familiar with the location of which this nightmare took place, and know for a fact none of this matches with the real world. In the nightmare, I had been sent with a couple of my co-workers to prepare one of the satellites for launch at the Cape Canaveral launch site. It was late at night since I do work second shift, which makes sense as to why the nightmare would take place during this time period. I was with my coworker and about to run a test script for the satellite final functional testing, but before running the test, my coworker turns to me and states, "Watch out for that one. The last time blah blah ran it that he kept talking about seeing some weird stuff." I turned to him and asked, "How weird?" My coworker got this kind of scared expression on his face and said, "Well, the test only takes about 15 minutes to run. And during the last 10 minutes, he kept talking about seeing some strange person with horns walking around the low bay. He kept saying that she was calling to him and trying to get him to follow her somewhere. We kept trying to snap him out of it, but he was hyper fixated on the screen and he was starting to sweat like it was the middle of summer. It was the dead of night in the winter and probably about 60 degrees in here." I looked at him like he was full of it, chuckled, and got ready to run the test. After preparing the test, I hit start and watched it go. After about 5 minutes, I looked up and noticed a window that showed the outside of the building. It was a dark forest with dead trees, leaves scattered all over the ground, and clouds looming. I thought nothing of it until I started hearing a cry coming from somewhere in the forest, and it was getting closer and becoming clearer. Finally, it was clear enough to hear.
"Mis niños, ayúdame a encontrar mis niños."
As we all know, this is the notorious calling card of everyone's favorite white dress wearing weeping woman, La Llorona. I remember, even though it was a dream, feeling my blood run cold with every call. I'm getting the chills just retelling this right now because of how vivid it was. Just so clear. That was when she finally appeared, except she wasn't wearing a white dress or old-time clothing that she's always connected with. She wore regular clothing. I remember this so clearly. She wore a gray ribbed tank top, blue jeans, and normal running shoes. The scariest part was she would go back and forth between cupping her mouth and simply yelling normally. When she would yell out her call, she did not look distraught. She did not look panicked. She did not look like she was any kind of emotion. She had a straight face and was simply calling out. I don't know why in my dream I opened the window to hear her clearer. That was when she turned and locked eyes with me. When we locked eyes, she smiled and said,
¿Qué? ¿No me vas a ayudar a encontrar a mis niños? What? You're not gonna help me find my children?
She started walking towards me, and for some reason I thought that closing the window would keep her from reaching me. All she did was look at me, look at the window, then walked towards the wall next to the window and walked right through into the room I was in. Once she was in the room, she started to walk towards me. My heart began to race faster than ever before. She reached out an arm, reaching for me. Thankfully, before she reached me, my wife woke me up to help her with our newborn. I was drenched in sweat, my blood was ice cold, and my heart was racing. I'm extremely thankful to my wife for waking me up, because that was honestly the most terrifying nightmare I've ever had in my life. Alrighty then. Well, now that that's out of the way, why don't we get to what y'all are really here for? Shall we? Our first story comes from someone we've had a story from before. Elf Lord on Discord, or Den and Wayne on Instagram. Now, I wish I could say that was the last time I had any experience like that, but unfortunately, there was more. Some of which I brought upon us. My mom and dad made a point to drive out to the cemetery and tell us a story about Screaming Johnny. The story was about a young kid who died in a fire, and the last thing they ever heard was the child screaming. I then turned to my parents and said, I wish I could help him. Yet big mistake. A couple of weeks later, I went into my room and there was this little blonde-haired boy. I think the only reason why I didn't jump out to ask my mom why was he here was because my mom was also a part-time babysitter. So I just figured this kid was a kid my mom was babysitting. Me and this kid started talking and I found out his name was Johnny. And later my mom came in there and asked me who I was talking to. And I told her Johnny. And she just stared at me puzzled and just told me, that's good, sweetie. Well, as the weeks went on, more things happened. Little things like my mom and dad were witnessing things. Seeing what they thought was me come running up just to find no one there, etc., etc. It wasn't until one evening where I was in front of my room playing in the hallway, I heard someone call to me in the kitchen. I looked up, and in the kitchen mirror was my mom. She was over the stove cutting something, but where she should have been on our side, she wasn't there. As I slowly started to put together that something wasn't right, I saw my mom look up in the mirror and give me this smile. Not something loving or kind, but instead something of pure evil, like she wanted to hurt me. I got ready to go in there and ask her what was wrong, only to hear my dad call me from the office. I quickly turned on my heel and went to check on my dad, and he acted like he didn't call for me, mostly repeating over and over that he was just working on something and hadn't called for me. Because of this instance, and after my parents began to question me on my weird behavior, they started looking into it slowly, realizing that there were at least 2 spirits. One being a young child that they soon realized was screaming Johnny, and the other being a negative spirit that hung out in the back room. My mom and dad brought my grandfather over and a preacher and prayed over the house. Johnny soon left, but the negative spirit stayed inside the back room. Usually we would go up to the window and look in to see a tall man looking back, or get abnormal cold spots around the door. Alright, holy taco sauce, that's terrifying. I can tell you from personal experiences, nothing like that has ever happened to me. You know, I've heard my name be called when I was younger, and nothing like that, because all I was told was, no, I didn't call you. But I not once ever looked up and saw the reflection of somebody in a mirror who wasn't there. Your experiences were terrifying, and I'm glad you and your family are okay. If you have any other stories that you would like to share, I'd be more than happy to read them on the podcast. Thank you for sharing your story and for giving permission to read it. Now, let's move forward to the second story, shall we? Our second story tonight is brought to us by Aleko315 on Twitter. I want to say I was around 12 or 13 years old. One day in school was just like any other normal day. Had classes during the day, lunch, more classes, and a little bit of a break before the end of the day. We went through the hot, dry, and windless day in Arizona. For our break, we were sitting inside with the nice cold AC flowing. Our teacher said it was too hot to go outside for a break, and we all couldn't agree more. We sat in the class trying to figure out what we wanted to do for our break. We noticed one of the popular girls heading over to probably tell the teacher what we should do. Of course, I thought, and we'll probably do it because she's the popular one. I can see her group of girlfriends talking and giggling in the corner. Anyways, they talk and the teacher seems a bit confused by her suggestion but agrees. The teacher calls for our attention. Alright everyone, your classmate, let's call her Sam, has a game for us to play. He motions for her to come over, and when she does, she is holding 2 pencils and a piece of paper. I was confused. What kind of game is this? It's called Charlie Charlie, she says. It might have been me, but the room seemed to get a bit darker almost immediately. She explained to us the rules and said it was a demonic sort of game, like a watered down version of the Ouija board. I was always a non-believer. As a matter of fact, I still am. But what I saw that day was unexplainable. She sets up the pencils in a cross, one on top of the other, and places them on the paper with a setup of the words no and yes. This is being shown on one of those 2010s projectors, so we can see everything on the wall being projected. One of her friends turns off the lights and the class gets darker, the kind where it's just enough to see. Sam asks if we're all ready and then proceeds to chant and call to something. Charlie, Charlie, are you there? Nothing. I felt like an idiot for a second. I actually believed something was going to happen. Everyone did. Even though nothing was happening, everyone was still holding their breaths, waiting for something to happen. I lost interest, but was still watching. She asked again, and again. Nothing. We were about to give up, but she decided to ask one more time, and nothing. But then, after a few seconds, the pencil on top started spinning by itself. Everyone was astonished and scared. It spun until it stopped on yes. Right away, my teacher ran up and scooped up the items and throws them away. "Okay, that's it," he said. Sam right away gets the stuff back out of the trash and sets it up again. "We forgot to say goodbye. If we don't say goodbye, something bad will happen to us," she claimed. Teacher agreed, and we said goodbye and threw the items away. It was almost as if the air in the classroom felt lighter. Later that day, I was home talking to one of my friends who was one of the religious types and told him about what happened in class. He was quiet for a minute and said, "You need to pray. That game is real." I, at first, was worried but thought it was okay because we said bye. I woke up unexpectedly because of an eerie feeling. It felt as if something in the darkness of my room was watching me. My light switch is right next to the head of my bed, so I turned it on and nothing. I turned it back off and the closet that I had fully closed earlier was slightly open. It was an old closet, so I thought it might have slipped open on its own. I put my head back down and my eyes started to close. But then I see a light coming from my closet. A blood red light in the shape of a cross. Chills ran down my spine. I was frozen under my covers, looking at my closet, which was to the right of me. In my peripheral vision, to the left, I see something rising in the air. I turned to look and I saw an all-black figure with red eyes staring down at me. I put my head under my covers, scared. I realized that I shouldn't try to look away from it. I quickly pop my head back out and see nothing, but the light is still coming from my closet. I look around really quick and put my head back under the covers and try to listen for any sounds, but there's nothing. I start fading back to sleep, but then I feel something shuffling around on top of the sheets. I feel a hand brushing up and down my body. I got scared, but I can't make a noise. I am just breathing heavily. There's more weight being added to the hand. Suddenly, I felt a body lay down on top of me and I couldn't move. I was freaking out when suddenly I opened my eyes again and my mom was there nudging me awake. It's morning. My closet door is closed. I never woke up. It was a dream. A nightmare. Why? Well, I can think of one reason. Charlie. Alright, that was definitely spooky. Spooky. That was terrifying. It definitely sounded like you had an experience with what's normally called sleep paralysis. It's common. It's terrifying. Majority of people, what they feel is like somebody's just sitting on your chest and laying on you, and you can't breathe. Some people have hallucinations during that, others don't. A lot of people hear voices. I, for one, know that when I've had sleep paralysis, I hear all kinds of things. I hear voices, I see shadows, I feel like something is pushing on my chest. There was one time that I tried getting my wife's attention and I just couldn't. The only thing that would come out was like that. It was absolutely terrifying. I'm glad you're okay. Hopefully nothing ever happened after that. Don't forget, everyone, like, comment, and subscribe if you want to keep hearing more. Share with your friends, share with your family, share with your dog. And if you have experiences, share them with me, and I'll share them with the world. Alright, let's move on to our next story, shall we? Brought to us by Queen of Chaos TTV on Twitch and Twitter, or Reigning Chaos on Discord. My story isn't super crazy, but it's stuck with me for years. Me, Gina, my younger sister Ashley, and my cousin Brianna decided to ghost hunt in Brianna's room once. The three of us girls were the only ones at the house at the time, and they lived in the middle of nowhere. We thought it would be a great idea to do a voice recording on my phone. We turned off the lights and sat on the bed as we took turns asking questions. Is anyone here with us? What's your name? How old are you? All the basics. We were there for maybe 20 minutes, asking questions into this quiet room. I then said, if you have anything to say, now is the time to do it, because I'm turning on the light and shutting off this device. I waited a couple seconds, then turned the light on and shut my phone off. We immediately listened back to the recording, and we were all bummed out that nothing was coming through. But then, just as I said I'd be turning off the device, a voice came through, a man's voice saying, Brianna. Crystal flipping clear. Though I was ecstatic, my cousin was less than thrilled. We never did it again and still talk about it from time to time. A la madre, no chingues, way. Oh, absolutely not. Nope. If I heard a random ghost say my name, I'd be out that house quick. If you have that recording still, I would love to listen to it and possibly share it on a different episode, or just if you have it somewhere, I would love to link it. Like, that is insane. Just completely insane that you caught what sounds like a Class A EVP. Okay, time for our next story. This one is brought to us by Firebat Ray on Discord. Alright, this happened a few days ago. I was talking with my friends about VTuber stuff and games while playing Call of Duty. We eventually came to the topic of a Nijisanji VTuber, Suzuhara Lulu, who graduated last year. For context, her fanbase has this funny lore bit with her, cause she did crazy stuff like 13 hours of Ring Fit and 13 hours of Dark Soul back to back, and without breaking a sweat on either. The lore bit involves basically saying that she is an eldritch being, and that no one must speak of it about her, and even place her name in the same sentence with eldritch. Failure to do so means some weird sturf happens. So, we were talking about her being an almighty eldritch goddess until we all got that very familiar Discord call sound effect. Of course, we looked at our Discords, and to our collective confusion, none of us had any recent notifications of anyone calling us. but we all swore we heard the Discord call sound effect. Honestly, that's kind of funny and kind of spooky. Not because of anything that happened, but because of the timing of everything. What really jumps out at me is the fact that all of you experienced the same thing at the same time. You know what, now you've got me wondering, is this Suzuhara Lulu just an average person? Or is she what people claim her to be? And an eldritch goddess here to stay? Let's try it. Suzuhara Lulu is an eldritch goddess. Okay, that was weird timing. My daughter just... I wonder if that picked up on the mic. Okay, I take it back. I'm sorry. Let's move on. Let's move on. Our final story of the night is brought to us by OMaddieBatty11 on Discord. I was in high school, more specifically a sophomore, in 2011. During the time in high school, a group of friends and myself were into scary stories around our town. There's a place nearby where I live that it's supposedly haunted, and that you can see a lady or something paranormal can happen to you. I really didn't believe it because they said it's just for us teens not to be near the old back road. But just knowing that people have been unalived there, then you can accept their spirits really didn't rest in peace, you know? So, it's football season, and our guy friends wanted to go support our school team, so we decided to go to the other town, knowing it's a varsity game. It will be in the night, so we all agreed to take the back roads back home to see if we can witness any lady or any other paranormal activity. So, as agreed, we did. And obviously nothing happened to us, and it was just ourselves staring at each other. But when getting close to our town, everyone just got really quiet, and relief, nothing happened. But at the same time, we all got a chill, and we didn't think of anything. So you can say weeks passed, or a month, and each of us were noticing like things happening around us. Like I noticed my perfume, phone, controller move like if they were being tapped. My shelves, doors would open, but I really didn't think anything of it until I told my friend, and he said he had someone get on top of him in the night. But as Hispanics and Latinos, we were like, el muerte se te subió, meaning the dead got on top of you. So again, we went to another friend, and they had similar issues, and we were like, do you think something followed us? And I was like, maybe. So again, I would hear stuff in the night in my house. My bed would shake, things would move, fall, etc. But one night, I felt really uncomfortable, like someone was present in my room. So I got up, grabbed my phone, and used the flashlight to see if there was anything, but there wasn't anything. So I decided to go to the restroom, and once I got out, for whatever reason, I had to look at the corner where my home computer was, and I just see the chair move and saw a shadow get up like it was tall, and when it walked towards me, it was like taking long steps, arms swinging. The way I can describe it is like a soldier walk, Frankenstein movement. But there wasn't any steps noise. So first thing I do is run to my room, get under my blankets, as if that was gonna protect me. But I called my dad and asked him, was that you in the living room, walking towards me? He said, no, I came to work at 4 a.m. And during the time this happened, it was 5 something in the morning, close to 6. And I asked him again, you sure? Because I saw this. And he was like, ask your mom what time I left. I have to go be at the fields at this time. I responded, I was just scared. And he just said, just go to sleep. She frightens me sometimes. So, when it's 7 a.m., I told my mom what happened. And she just looked at me and said, would you believe me if I told you that I was talking to your dad? Clearly heard his voice responding back to me in the living room a couple days ago, but when I went to check, there wasn't anyone. So I called him asking where he went, and he said, I'm on my way back home. I'm still in the bus. She got scared and said, stop playing, come back, and tell me the food is ready. And he said, I'm serious, I'm with my coworker. Look, say hi. My mom then told my dad what she had seen. And again, he was telling us, it's your mind's playing games with you. Until one day he experienced it. He saw a glass cup move again, like a gentle push, not for it to fall or break. Same thing with the TV controller. And that's when he finally believed us. And we all decided to go to church and sprayed the house with holy water. Each room has holy water near the bed. So yeah, that's my paranormal experience. Okay, so I'm Mexican. I was brought up, I guess you can say I was brought up traditional Mexican. And you know, there's a really common theme of most old school Hispanic men, and it's in your mind, it's in your head, unless they experience something. Then when they experience something, it's okay, it's real, my bad. That's how my guardian was. And Jesus, where did you live? Orangevale? Ay, man, te digo, güey, no manches. No, man. That is absolutely terrifying. That is absolutely terrifying. I don't know if anything has continued, if it's stopped, if it's gotten worse, gotten better, but you let me know. And if you have anything else you want to share, feel free. I'll be more than happy to listen and read and talk about it. Well, everyone, that'll do it for tonight. I don't have any more family member stories to tell you. Sorry. But I'm thinking next episode I will open up with reading a poem from Edgar Allan Poe. But until then, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications. And remember, fear keeps us alive. Bye, everyone.